How's it going? Whew. Life is a pretty crazy thing. The most amazing thing in the world. Absolute phenomenal perfection all the time. Having tobacco ceremony. Beautiful. Thank you to everything. All the plants, all the medicines, all the paths, all the experiences, all the frequencies, all the tones, all the way that we could ever be. It's just all the most amazing stuff. Thank you so much for being any way that you're ever being, any way that you'll ever be. It's amazing and phenomenal, super duper wonderful. I hope that you know that you're just the most amazing thing in the whole wide world. I mean, really, the most amazing thing in the whole wide world. All of you entirely. Not just one of you individually, and not just one of you individually, because all of you, individually and wholly, are the most amazing thing in the whole world. Fragments, they say, reflecting the whole. Fragments. I don't ever really like to say fragments, because we're whole pieces there, you know. Fragment makes it seem like you're like a crack and a wrinkle in a certain manner, and maybe that's a way that could be positively perceived and a possibility that is actually true. I mean, all things are true. But it's just like, whoo. I just don't like to think of ourselves as fragmented. It sounds pretty crazy, you know. But hey, I mean, fragments are word within us, and it's as equal to us as it is to anything else. So it really does just depend on perception when it comes to that kind of a thing. I was just talking to a friend of mine and telling him about all these amazing teachings and these phenomenal realizations. And you know, as you talk to somebody, you see what their interest is in life, and that they're only here listening for a small amount of time while they get what they want from you, and then they're on their way to the next thing that they want, of course, you know. Why else, you know? What else would they do? Who else would they go to? What else would they go to? You wanted tobacco. Interesting. And that's cool, you know. And people say, you know, they want the teachings of the place of life. They want the teachings of the truth, but they don't want it, you know, the way that it comes raw and authentic. Is it exactly actually is, very specifically, well articulated. They want it in the way that they view from their conceptual mind, typically. And that's a really interesting thing as well. Why would that be? I don't know. I mean, there could be any number of reasons why that is. Typically, we're attached to our ego identity and to the things that make us feel safe and whole. So, if it relates to us in a way that we understand, we feel better about it, and we're willing to accept it, and we're kind of interested in it. Mostly a boosting of the ego in some kind of a manner. And hey, who's to say that's a bad thing? You know, there's not a bad thing occurring. There's definitely only perfection. So yesterday I was talking with a Lama, amazing man, Lama Gyaltsen. I've said his name, and he is so phenomenal, so amazing. All of these gesturings for myself entirely, as I listen and observe and realize whatever it is that's happening that would clog my flow or inhibit my channel in some kind of a way, whatever kind of fear or anxiety could possibly come up to cause me to slow down in whatever it is I'm doing. It's wonderful to be able to see so hypersensitively and be so very mindful of every movement and motion, the leaves falling, the breeze blowing, and all the trees just singing the beautiful song to us in all the moments. How amazing is it? Sitting here now at Rainbow Park, phenomenal place, and feeling invigorated, really just magically inspired, and by my beautiful meeting with Mr. Lama Gyaltsen, an amazing, phenomenal being of enlightened wisdom, awakened mind, who can see all the different parts of the path that I've ever been on, and who knows how much else he's been able to see. Man, do I pay homage and amazing respect to this phenomenal being that has understood the balance of everything in such a calm, perfected, gentle, and peaceful manner, to bring such a joy to the world, to see the coin, and to flip it over, and realize not only is it the same coin, but it's really our choice, a decision, whatever it is we see of the coin. Or is it hate? Is it love? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it happiness? What is it? How is it? What is it that makes us decide this? Always here, accompanied by the amazing synchronicities and perfections of the moment. Whenever I find the smallest bit of fear or lack of confidence, there's always a number sequence or something that comes to show, oh no, don't worry. Have confidence. Continue on this channel. Do what you're doing. You don't need to be stopped up. But if you do get stopped up, that's okay too. Just know that in any moment that you decide, you can keep on moving. You can keep on growing. You can keep on showing. You can keep on being yourself in this enlightened, amazing way. Not one flying within all the lines of thought and ego identity, but one that's purely centered and really here in this pure presence of this phenomenal moment, in surrender, in guidance, in this amazing way of expressing. The more confidence we come, the greater it is the flow of all that is that comes through us. And so here I am again, because I feel again motivated to share and to help in any way that I can. Yeah, so many people haven't really been interested in these teachings. Who knows? Maybe it's the energy that it's coming through with, all the different processes that I've been going through, all the different authentic emotions and expressions that have been happening in all these different moments, all perfection, all amazing, all pervading. So phenomenal is this consciousness that has come to me, that is me, that is we, that is all that is. So I see a lot of different focuses and a lot of different conceptual understandings, and a lot of people speaking the words of truth but not understanding the words of truth that they say. It's like somebody told them about it and they immediately filtered it into their ego mind, and now they've decided that, geez, it's this completely different thing than what it's saying that it is. It's like, why do we have to always add extra to stuff? It's said very clearly, very literally, very simply, is how all the teachings are, very basic, hey, this is exactly the way that it is. And I wonder if this is mainly because of reading, I can't figure it out. Sometimes, I speak to people and they take it completely different. So, maybe it's also hearing, listening, maybe it's just where we're personally at, we can only see from that lens. But either way, whether anybody is watching this or not, or whatever's happening, it's been brought to me by Lama Gyaltsen that I must share my Dharma, that I must continue on my lineage, and that I must continue these amazing teachings that have been brought through me, this unique way of seeing that adds many ways of seeing to the angle in which it's been able to have focus. Its openness, its humbleness, it's the way that it came into fruition, that it developed all on its own, without a teacher, aside from what was the pureness of consciousness, through medicine ceremony and also through the karmas of life, realizing through these ceremonies that I was always in a place to be able to see very clearly. Is that the same for us all? I couldn't say. It seems that I have a different quality in a lot of ways. But does that mean that I'm better in some way? Absolutely not. We're equal in every way. Every one of us entirely. Sometimes we just hold on to things in a different manner. Angers, fears, whatever it is that causes us to compete and express in such amazing and subtle ways. It's so beautiful. Every one of you, every one of us, all of the one entirely. Utter perfection. And so why would I be saying this? And what does it even mean for me to say this? Well, I hear a lot of people saying, it is perfection, believe me or not. And then they shut it off there. Oh, I won't argue with you. I'm not going to discuss it. This is the truth, period. And that's a really interesting expression. I see that in practically all of the seemingly high spiritual knowing people. They never seem to be able to specify. If they can specify, for some reason they won't. I can't tell if they can because they won't. So I have to imagine the reason that they won't is because they can't. And so when somebody challenges them, they don't have anything to say except for, I'm holding here, that's it. And that's a cool way to go. Sure, why not? That makes a lot of sense, to defend and protect oneself and one's understanding, because their understanding might seem, a bit flimsy to them. Hold on, whoa. If we talk about this too much, I might find out I don't know what I'm knowing about. And that would shake me to the core. I'm feeling sturdy and stable and safe where I am. I become comfortable and complacent, and I'm not moving any further or anywhere back. Please don't ever question me, because it'll show me something of myself, and I don't want to see that part of myself. I'm complete where I am. I'm completely ready. I'm where I need to be. Look at me. I have all these friends. I'm feeling great. I got a house. I have all these comforts. I'm making money, selling my wisdom. And I mean, rarely do you see anybody who does it only for donation. Or what about somebody who doesn't even ask for donation? That sounds scary. Shouldn't I ask for donations? What will I do if nobody donates to me? How will this, continue itself? It would take a lot of trust in all that is will have me, as long as I live in truth, as I live in purity, as I live in purity, if I live purely. Who knows? Maybe nothing will have you back. Maybe nothing supports you. Maybe you don't support yourself. If you do know that all is yourself, and you are giving yourself fully to supporting yourself for no selfish reason, I don't see why it wouldn't do the same for you. Maybe it's a process of not really knowing what we need. Why isn't it giving me this thing? I want this thing very badly. Why won't it give it to me? I'm doing my hardest to get this thing. What can I do to get it? Well, they say if you try very hard to get something you don't have, that you actually can't get it. Isn't that interesting? Well, then how do I find patience? This was a teaching that came to me the other day with a friend who wanted to have marijuana from me. And I was like, well, you would have to have patience if you wanted to do that. One of the things I asked him to do first was, okay, well, you said you'd do anything for me if I did this for you. Okay, then stop wanting it completely. Just give it up completely. Give it up so that you don't want it at all. And they're like, you see that one, that thing, part of the anything that I had said is too much. So maybe not anything but that one. I'm like, oh, okay, anything but that one. That one's too difficult, of course. You're giving up the want for it completely. Kind of defeats the purpose. Asking for it, it would seem to a logical ego mind, of course, absolutely. And so I was like, then what could we do? What could we do? Let's see. Let me feel. I don't want anything material from you. I don't need anything like that. I don't need your praise. I don't need your gratitude. I don't even need your love. I don't know exactly what I would want here. What do I want? What do I want? How can this become equal balance in some way? Okay, let's think. Oh, yes. How about patience? Would you like to have patience for this? Could you give me patience? I mean, if he could give me patience. But, patience is kind of the same thing of not wanting it, I told him. I mean, it's pretty much the same energy. Patience isn't like just for a small amount of time. Like, okay, I'm going to have patience for 3 hours. Are you really patient if you know that in 3 hours you're going to do it? I mean, you can sit there and do all kinds of things. Well, okay, I got to take up 3 hours time, and then I get this thing, and the whole time, oh man, in 3 hours I'm going to get this thing. This is awesome. Here we go. We're going to do this, and it's going to be awesome. And yeah, this is great. Okay, 3 hours. 2 hours goes by. Oh yeah, 1 more hour. We're going to do this. We're going to get this. I'm super patient. I don't care. I don't mind. Okay. Oh, it's going to take 3 days. Alright, I'm going to be patient for 3 days. I'm just going to not worry about it at all. Just be patient. It's coming. That whole time you're sitting there like, oh man, I wish it would come sooner. Where is this thing? Can I get it a little earlier? Oh no, I can't do that. Okay. Anytime you think about it, it's kind of like you have to restart the cycle of patience. It's like, oh no, what's happening? How am I going to do this? Patience is so hard. How do I do this? When will I become actually patient? I don't know. Well, typically, patience kind of has to do with like letting things go in a really complete manner, and like, I don't care at all if anything comes. It doesn't matter. And that's kind of the same thing as the first thing I asked him. You see, this was a funny place. And so, is it possible, So we waited with each other. He was being patient, Mr. Patience, and I was, I kind of put myself in that flow too. Now I have to wait for him to be patient. So I gotta be patient for him to be patient. This is gonna be very difficult. What are we going to do? Are we going to find patience now? And so, we waited. We went a whole night. I even helped him with patience here. Here's a little bit. You're gonna have a little bit right now. There you go. This will help you with patience. This will be an easy patience day. This will be fun. The next day comes. He wakes up in the morning. He's like, oh shoot, how much longer now? Oh shoot. Oh man, I heard a friend of mine just now. I was just trying to move an ant off of me, and I think I might have hurt him. I hope that he's okay. It's just making me very sad. Oh no. My little friend. Is he okay? Oh no, I didn't have enough patience. Oh, this is very sad. I don't know. I don't know if he's okay. Oh no. Oh, that's very sad. Oh my goodness. Distracted, not completely present. I could have been slow. He wasn't hurting me at all. Oh, my dear friend. Oh. Om Vasasattva Hom. Oh, many have blessings. Oh, may he have many blessings. Oh, my poor friend. I hope that he wakes up, that he's okay. Oh, my goodness. This is awful. This is like the same as hurting a person. This is like, oh no. Oh. No, we have to be very patient. We have to be very patient. Oh my goodness. With every little thing in life, with all the things of life, this is very important. Here's another ant friend. Don't want to touch them. Very fragile. I only wanted him off of me so he didn't get hurt by me, and then what do you know? He got hurt by me because I wasn't patient, because I wasn't, just being calm and allowing him to move on his own, and maybe using my breath, or just, putting my head next to him and helping him, and, even if it takes 3 hours to do that, that's okay, whatever it takes to make sure everybody is safe and okay, and I'm not hurting anyone in any way. This is important, they're my friends, they are myself, they are equal to me in every way, and perhaps this becomes a teaching in some manner. I vow not to harm anything, and sometimes I harm things accidentally, and it's not okay, it makes me feel very bad. This is not, all things are enlightened action, but that doesn't mean that I should go around hurting things, that doesn't mean that that's what that is. I have compassion, understanding. Maybe nothing wrong will befall me from this, but this is very sad. This is very, very sad right now. Very sad. We're giving teachings on patience, and here I am, and I wasn't patient. This has happened to me with things on my back sometimes. I try to just kind of brush it off, not try to harm it, but because it's so little and fragile, it's not something that you can actually just brush off, you hurt it if you brush it because it's so fragile. And so I'm learning this recently in big ways, and it brings me much sadness and deep pain inside of myself as I've realized I've harmed myself in such a great way, and that I wasn't patient, that I could have been more patient, I could have taken more time to help my friend and to move my little brother, myself, me on another part of the path, in this way. And instead, I just so quick, to reflexively touch, or however it is, like, oh, I don't like the feeling of it tickling me, but imagine the earth did that to us, we're on the earth, and it's kind of tired of feeling everything crawling on it, and then it's just like, you brush it off with a big giant rock, boom, it's over, We would hope that the earth loves us enough to not do this, that it understands that we deserve life, and that we deserve to do the natural thing that we're trying to do. What's an ant trying to do? He's trying to gather things for his colony, food or twigs or whatever it is that, ants would feel the need to gather for their colony, to bring food to their families and their friends, their community, their village, the community. the colony again. It's so important, and all these things, cockroaches, like they're nasty. Well, they clean up a lot of things, they do a lot. I heard somebody say the other day that cockroaches are one of the only things accepted to be killed in the Hindu tradition, and I'm like, whoa, I want to respect the Hindus and everybody's tradition and their heritage, but as they say that the cockroaches were murderers in their past lives, and so it's okay to kill the cockroaches, because they were murderers and they deserve it in some manner, but that's why they live gross lives. But I don't think that they really do live gross lives. I mean, cockroaches are natural and in nature, and if we didn't have trash cans and things like that, they wouldn't have things to clean up in the cities. They would be in the forest, and they would be living a really amazing life like the squirrels or the ants or whoever else is living out in the beautiful nature. So we are creating, these places that have very concentrated places of energy, and so, these beings have come to help us clean, and they do this by eating it, yes, and that's how many things are. When, a lion attacks a gazelle, it eats the gazelle to whatever it does, and then other animals come and pick off the rest of that stuff, and then insects come and they pick up some more stuff, and this continues going to microbes and other places, forms of bacteria and tiny, microscopic beings, cleaning, the whole circle of life occurring, the earth taking everything they can back to it eventually. It's an amazing, phenomenal cycle. And so it's nice to have patience for every being in every way, and every possibility. So patience isn't always, just what I'm talking about before, but, with every part of life, you got a mosquito on you, you have a chance to, not hurt that mosquito, or you have a chance to hurt the mosquito, you have a chance to get it off in another way. You could even, let it drink your blood until it's full, and send it many blessings and gratitude for its whatever work it happens to be doing very naturally and purely and perfectly. Perhaps it's just teaching us patience, and that's a beautiful thing to be teaching. Thank you for my little wisdom teachers, teaching me patience and kindness, understanding, compassion, slowing me down, so I don't speed up too fast and hurt myself in some kind of a way. I must be sitting near many ants right now, which makes me wonder if I should move, because I might be sitting on top of them. So I'm going to move a little bit. I'm going to find myself in a place where I'm not causing any myself harm of myself. The Buddhists, they take a broom with them on the path and they sweep things off the path away so they don't harm anything, I think it's really gorgeous that we do that, that we care so much about things that we don't want to hurt them. I love the Buddhists for that. They love all beings, even the cockroaches, the flies, they don't mind all these things. Very natural and pure. I remember hearing of a teaching of a Lama or Rinpoche, a powerful yogi in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and he's sitting inside of a meditation hut, and he has thousands of mosquitoes in there with him, thousands of them. And the cool thing about this man was when he came out of the hut, none of the mosquitoes were biting him at all, and they're just flying around him in swarms, but none of them were landing on him and biting him. And it's like a teaching to me that if you're in complete compliance and love and bliss, you've learned everything you ought to learn from your teacher, that was the mosquito, that it has no reason to bite you anymore, still teaching you patience, still teaching you compassion for the tiniest pieces of yourself, because there's even tinier pieces of yourself that, we would not even know were significant, and maybe we don't realize to have compassion for, but very, very tiny, pure, and amazing pieces, very tiny. I mean, tinier than what I can hold in my fingers right here. In order to touch these pieces, you would have to see my hands imploding upon themselves in order for me to actually grasp those tiny pieces. This brings me into another amazing teaching about the beginning and the end, and how I had held it in my hand like this, and I literally had to implode upon myself to touch it. It's amazing, the mudra, the beginning and the end is so beautiful. Come naturally, just happened on its own. All these things are just being realized through beginner's mind and experiencing them directly. And realization is not learning something that you haven't known before. It's not learning something new per se. You're experiencing it maybe for the first time in this lifetime that you have recognized consciously. But it's something that you've always known, and so it's not anything that you have to conceptualize in some manner to where you're like, oh yes, this image related to this image and this and that and the other. It's a knowing that happens on its own, a place of knowing. It's just like all of a sudden you remember something that you didn't remember you'd forgotten. Like, oh yes, of course, I've always known this. What was I thinking before? I've had a lot of realization, and so I've noticed this in so many amazing ways, and I'm super happy about it, I gotta tell you. And so that's what I'm doing here now today, is doing my very best to share with you these things. Oh, stretching myself, making sure I don't keep myself pinpointed in one angle for too long when my body gets strong. I tore my shoulder and I heard myself going real fast and vigorous and pumping up my muscles and making myself, kind of feeling aggressive and show-offy. And those kinds of energies kind of take me into like whoever it is that I'm showing up to, or whatever it is I'm thinking about, in the past is feeling aggressive. And that kind of takes me a little bit out of the moment with myself and causes me to be able to go a little fast and keep myself in a really interesting way. And I've done this, and so I've been experiencing this before. And doing my best to not experience it anymore by staying present with myself and love with all of life with myself. I'm not yet, all the way complete, and of course I'm always complete, but my realization, awakening fully to the Buddha that is, because we're all the Buddha, but you have to awaken to the Buddha. And that's the best way for me to explain it, is to call it the Buddha. If you know anything about the Buddha, it's like the most egoless wisdom there could possibly be on the planet. It doesn't separate anything, it keeps everything equal, the same, one taste, equanimity always. And it doesn't boast itself to be greater than anything either. It's not going to be upset with you if you're a Hindu, or it's not going to be upset with you if you're Christian or whatever you are, It's never idolizing those things or worrying about those things. It sees everything as the great perfection, so it's not the greatest. But for me, man, it is one of the greatest wisdoms I've ever seen, the purest wisdoms I've ever seen, the most egoless wisdom I've ever seen. And that's just experiential, from my point of view. I love it, the wisdom of the Tao, but the amount of specificity that comes into Buddhism, woo! And the amount of no need for it as well. Very pure teachings. Well, I'm gonna lay with you like this a little. Trying to save my neck. I like my neck, but I like to talk to you too, so. Back to the slight teaching on patience with my buddy. So yeah. Then it took for a while. We had to leave and pretty much believe that it wasn't going to happen, and that was the rate of flow that opened that up, Reminded me of a sister I had over, call her Sunshine. And, well, she come over to see this thing about a coin. She wanted to know what it was, and I immediately realized what was occurring, that I couldn't figure out where it was, and she was so impatient, like, come on, find it. Have you found it yet? Come on, have you got it yet? I'm trying to go, what's going on? And I realized, I was like, well, probably will happen when you're patient. And so, she waited, and then she was like, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. And then what do you know, right when she did that, I found it. I was searching the whole time, I wasn't trying to make this happen, it just happened. And so she was like, how interesting, what is this? You know, so she stopped for a second, and then but I hadn't found it all the way. I had simply found the coin and the symbols that she was looking for. I had realized that. And she was like, "Oh, well," and I was like, "Oh, no. I'm still looking, I'm seeing what it means, but I have found the coin, okay." And she's like, "That's it," and she goes to walk away again, and there it was. Universal currency. That was the two items of that line, a row, in the Chinese coin. And the first symbol, which she was saying was herself, was actually, it meant universal, so that was really amazing. She's like, "I think that this symbol right here is me." And I was like, "Really? That's interesting. Let's find out if that's true." And the symbol meant universal. She's like, oneness, everything entirely. I thought that was really clever. She's really smart, really in tune. She didn't know that that symbol was her. The entirety of all of it. Of all that is, of everything. Very beautiful stuff. So that was a beautiful teaching on patience, and I got to learn the teaching myself. You see, I guess I'm not as patient as I thought. Sometimes I can be, but when I want something, it can be very hard for me to be very patient. You know, I'm trying to be patient, but you know, it's tough when you want something. So I wanted to speak with somebody who could help me on my path in some way, but it doesn't seem anybody has any way to relate. But I knew one man that did, Mr. Lama Gyaltsen. Always knowing exactly where I was, no matter what. So it's like, alright, well, what would I do? How would I find this man? What will I do? So I was waiting for him. I was sitting in this parking lot next to his Dharma son. I'm waiting for him. Like, okay, I gotta be patient. Let me see. It's not going to come unless I'm like present. You'll be able to tell if I'm present or not. You'll know if I'm in the moment. So I'm just going to look at this leaf. But you know, all the while I am waiting for Lama Gyaltsen. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at this leaf while waiting for the future. Finally, I gave up myself. I was like, alright, well, I guess this isn't going to happen. I guess I'm going to just go back to the valley and be there. And I'll go get some Thai food first, and that's what I'll do. And so I told my buddy, that's what I'll do. I'm done. I'm ready to go. I'm going to order some Thai food. You know, can you give me something from Mana real quick, and we'll figure this out, you know. And so as I'm calling the Thai food after telling him this, you know, and there comes Lama Gyaltsen right there at that moment. Right then. I can't even believe it. I'm like, oh, this whole time I was waiting for this man, and it wasn't until I completely gave up waiting for him that he showed up. A teaching on patience, much like the one for sunshine and for my buddy Colton and all these things. Oh, so amazing, you know. It's like, geez, you really have to just completely, be so fully present, but know what you want, but not at all care about that thing you want, because if you do, you'll be waiting for it. You won't be able to be here now. And it's important to be here now, isn't it? So that's really beautiful. And I got to receive this amazing teaching and this phenomenal transference of energy to give me greater confidence in my path, because I'm very unique. Nobody has the teachings that I happen to hold or carry. You know, nobody has them. Nobody can tell me about them really, but Lama Gyaltsen does understand them, because the universal wisdom that I've learned is just that. It is universal. The way that I viewed it is different.